Would you describe this past Sunday's game against the Jets as a get me through it type of game? And by that, I mean win. Literally by any means necessary. I don't care how you get me there. Just stay healthy and get me to 5-2 against the Patriots next weekend. I wouldn't necessarily blame you if you felt that way because the game was not fun. It was not all that entertaining. And it was pretty frustrating, dare I say maddening at times. Personally, I promised myself that I wouldn't panic unless the Bills went down by 2 scores in the second half. And as much as I'd love to say that I held true to that promise to myself, I was pretty nervous. I was maybe sitting there anxiously biting my fingernails, that type of scenario. Because the Bills went down by 2 scores to the New York Jets. Halfway through the second quarter, they were trailing the Jets 10-0. The Jets led for the most amount of time they had all season. They showed these stats on CBS on the broadcast. They had their largest lead of the season. Had to be against us, of course. But fortunately, I was never convinced the Bills were going to lose. I guess I know that sounds weird because that might sound like a contradiction of what I just said because I was nervous, I was anxious, I wasn't necessarily panicking, but I still felt like we're going to get this right. We're going to make it through this. We're going to get through this game. Until the Jets are leading late, I'm not going to truly believe the Bills are buried here. And I think the way the offense moved the ball most of the day kind of justifies the way I felt about that. Every single Bills drive, all 9 of them, with the exception of the kneel downs at the end, that was technically the 10th drive. So all 9 of the meaningful possessions the Bills had on Sunday ended in Jets territory. And honestly, all of them would have ended in field goal attempts. I know Tyler Bass finished 6 of 8. He would have had a 9th field goal attempt, had Josh Allen not fumbled on that sack. Because it was 3rd and 14, he would have taken the sack. The Bills would have certainly attempted the field goal on their second possession of the game. So Tyler Bass would have had 9 field goal attempts on 9 possessions had it not been for 1 Josh Allen fumble. He ends up going, as I said, 6 of 8, and I will address this right away. I get why you might not have a lot of faith in him at 6 of 8. But you know what? 7 of 8 is really good. And it's weird how we're kind of judge kickers like that. 6 of 8 is 3 out of 4. Not great. A little shaky. 7 out of 8 is really good. If you make 7 out of 8 kicks, that's very good. 8 out of 8 is perfect. You can't really expect perfection. Not many kickers in the NFL are perfect. Justin Tucker has been an exception. He has missed occasionally. But he's been the best of the best around the league for the past 5 or so years. But of course there's exceptions to the rule. Most kickers, for almost all kickers, 7 out of 8, 87.5%, whatever that is very good. So I'm not ready to cut Tyler Bass's throat, metaphorically speaking, because a lot of fans, you follow along on Twitter, and that is maybe the worst place to go to find the panicky fans, the world is ending, the sky is falling type of fans. That's where you guys hang out. And I am following along. I typically will not send out too many tweets even about a Bills game on Sunday, maybe a few here or there. During it, not so much. But I try to contain my thoughts, I guess I should say, because I'm like, my emotions are running high while I'm watching this. I might not want to say this. I might not believe this at this point. And I'm not telling you guys how to live your lives, how to live on Twitter and whatnot, but I'm just telling all the rational fans that Twitter is a hard place to be during a Bills game, especially when they go down 10 points to the Jets. I don't blame you for necessarily being embarrassed at certain aspects of that game. Frank Gore, who played for the Bills last year, runs 11 times for 60 yards. That's got to be his high. I don't know this offhand, but that has to be his biggest yards per carry over 5 in a while. Having at least 10 carries going over 5 yards per carry in quite some time. I think he might have done it actually for the Bills last year. Now that I think about it, I think he had a game with the Bills that he went 17 for 102, and I think it might have coincidentally been against the Patriots, who are the Bills' upcoming opponent. But before I talk about the Patriots, I want to give a little bit of credit where I think credit is due, and that is on the defense. Because first half, second half, a Jekyll and Hyde type of performance. Whatever they figured out in the second half, wow. And I know that some fans will just be like, Greg, stop it. Shut up. It was just the Jets. I know, but the Jets were the team they were playing. So there you go. What can you really be disappointed about in the second half? The Jets went 3 and out 4 times. They had the interception to end the game. They had 5 minutes and 33 seconds of possession time in the second half. I believe that's correct. 5:33 out of 30 minutes in the second half, the Jets had the ball. They had 1 first down, and it came on their first play of the second half. Right when we come out of the locker room, the Bills make it 10-9 with another field goal attempt. Frank Gore gets the ball, runs for 13 yards, and we're thinking, well, here we go. It's more of the same. It wasn't. That was their only first down. They gained 13 yards. They gained -9 yards the rest of the half. They totaled 4 yards in the second half. A bunch of sacks. Sam Darnold, pressure in his face, holding onto the ball too long. All the criticisms that Josh Allen received last year coming into this year, that was Sam Darnold on Sunday. And I don't really want to, necessarily conflate the two, I suppose. But if you're a Jets fan, I mean, what do you really want at this point? Do you want Darnold to look good? You probably want him to look good. Or do you just want to continue losing out, ride Adam Gase out to Trevor Lawrence? There's, I can't, it was giving me a headache almost just to think about, and I don't even like the Jets. I loathe the Jets, to be honest with you. So, why am I even concerning myself with that type? Let us move forward. Let us move forward. The Bills are 5-2. They moved the ball at will against the Jets. All of the possessions ended in Jets territory, as I said. They finished with, before we move on to the Patriots, just run through the stat line for the Bills very quickly. Allen, 30 of 43, 300 yards. No touchdowns. The Bills, the first team since the 40s. I can't remember what year it was exactly, but at least 75 years probably. 75 or 80 years to never punt and have no touchdowns. That is quite the stat. Anyway, Allen goes over 300, no touchdowns. He did throw one to Gabe Davis that got called back. He leads the team in rushing, 61 yards. Moss adds 47. Singletary adds 29. Singletary a little bit unimpressive. I think some fans are pretty unimpressed with the running game overall, and they want to see more from it. Would I like to see it be more productive? Sure. Do I necessarily care? Not as long as the passing game is as effective as it is. And Josh, the criticism, the knocks on him the past couple of weeks have been, take the underneath stuff. They're playing you deep. They're making sure you can't get these chunk plays on him. Start taking people underneath. What does he do? Cole Beasley, 11 for 112. Good. Now teams maybe will start paying more attention to Beasley. Things might open up a little bit deeper, especially with John Brown coming back to the lineup this Sunday against the Patriots. He's sort of the take the top off the defense type of guy, and Beasley is the underneath, find the hole in the zone type of guy, and then Diggs is like the weapon. So hopefully that is, their plan of attack this Sunday against the Patriots. Before we talk about that, Beasley deserves a lot of credit. The tight ends being used, that deserves a little bit of credit. Croft, 4 for 64. Gilliam, 1 for 15. So a total of 5 for 79 from the tight end position. That's healthy. That's nice to see. Diggs gets his 11 targets, only 6 catches. But it's nice to see that they will continue targeting him, 10 plus times a game. I want him to get the ball. I think that is your best option on offense. So, again, I think fans are a little frustrated with the kicking game. They're a little frustrated with the running game. I want to see touchdowns, obviously. I never want to attempt 9 field goals. I think that is or 8 field goals, or have 9 field goal attempt drives, essentially, because, like I said, the other one would have ended in field goal attempt had Allen not fumbled. You obviously want to see probably at least 6 touchdowns in that game. The Bills could have won this game 54-10. But they didn't. I understand that. They didn't. They need to be better in the red zone. Maybe John Brown will help that. Maybe a better running game will help that. Maybe John Feliciano returning will help that because the Bills will have to mix and match maybe a little bit on offensive line because will they leave Winters? Do you think Winters is best suited for right guard? That was Feliciano's position, so maybe Feliciano moves over to left guard. But I think getting that line back intact is a good thing for the Bills. I think that having Butker and Winters at the guards might have hindered the running game just a little bit. So hopefully when Feliciano comes back, that will help out there. Anyway, it's obviously Patriots week, and the Patriots themselves have averaged just 9 points per game over the past 3 games. Cam didn't start the one against the Chiefs, so let's look at the past 2. They're 0-2. They average 9 points. Okay, they have lost 18-12 to Denver, 33-6 to San Francisco. They've only passed for over 172 total yards once this season. It came in week 2 against Seattle, and Seattle's had a hard time stopping anybody. So Cam, for all the credit that he has received, or at least received in the first 2 weeks of the season, Cam Newton is back. Look at this, look at that. He has 2 passing touchdowns and 7 interceptions. His last 2 games, 26 of 40 for 255 yards and 5 interceptions. That's his last 2 games. 255 yards passing, 5 interceptions, and 5 sacks. He's been largely unimpressive. And so the Patriots find themselves in this position now with Julian Edelman not going to play. And they don't really use the receivers anyway. So the receivers are like Demir Byrd, and N'Keal Harry has been ruled out with a concussion. It's like Byrd and Gunnar Olszewski. Who else is even here? I should have seen this list, but like Jacoby Myers. Come on. The time is now. You slap any other logo on the side of their helmets, and Bills fans are thinking this is a breeze. Like, this is a given. This is the Jets. You know, it's just the Patriot logo, the Belichick allure, the aspect of having him. Because Sean McDermott coached Bills teams have not had a lot of success against Belichick. They have not beat him. How about that? And what was I going to say? What was the one point? Okay, here. 5 touchdowns in 6 games. They've scored 5 touchdowns in 6 games. You want to know who scored them? Josh Allen rushing, John Brown, Zay Jones, Deion Dawkins, and Jordan Poyer. Those are your 5 touchdowns. Josh, John Brown, Zay Jones, Deion Dawkins, and Jordan Poyer. Those are your 5 touchdowns in 6 games by the Bills against the Patriots under Sean McDermott. I promised myself I would never, there's another promise I made myself, that I would never pick the Bills to beat the Patriots as long as Brady and Belichick are there. Well, you know what? Brady is gone. Belichick is there, and I think he's finding himself in this heavy crossroads of what do I do? I wonder if he's even thinking about retirement. He's like, 68 years old? Does he want to go through a rebuild? I don't know. Because now the talk about Gilmore coming up, and Gilmore being traded, and I wouldn't blame them for trading Gilmore. It doesn't look like he's going to play on Sunday. I wonder if that's, a trade question. They said he has a minor knee injury. Maybe it's just code for, we're going to hold him out because we think we're going to trade him. And again, I wouldn't blame them for trading him. They got what they wanted out of Gilmore. They got a championship ring. He won Defensive Player of the Year. They didn't win the title that year. But what more can you ask? He won personal accolades. He helped win them a Super Bowl ring. They're in the 4th year. That was in his first 3 years. They're in their 4th year now of his 5-year contract, and they really don't necessarily need him. I know the Patriots have had a lot of players opt out, and maybe they thought the team was not going to be good. Maybe that was part of their reasoning. Like, let me just sit back and see how this looks for a second. And I don't want to make light of COVID or anything like that. So please don't look at it in that regard. I'm just looking at it like, Damian Harris runs the ball decently for them. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry. Burkhead's a weapon out of the backfield. So is James White. But the time is now. I don't care if the Bills are without Micah Hyde. Stack the box. Make Cam Newton beat you with Ryan Izzo. I'm going to pick the Bills. Bills to beat. I don't think they're going to blow them out, but I'm going to pick the Bills to beat the Patriots finally. I think it's finally going to happen. Bills over Patriots 24-19. Guys, hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle and YouTube username are the same. Enjoy your weekend. As always, above all else, go Bills.